gracious. Got this thing going. There we are. Good evening and welcome back. Thank you for clicking us on this evening. My name is Jay Ryan. You have clicked on Cars and Comedy here in the Late Night Playset. We have got a good one for you tonight. I say that a lot, but we really, really do. Also, I'm pretty amazed that we pulled it off because up until about 15 minutes ago, the desk and the chairs and all the studio stuff that we sent to the Marconi was not quite hooked up well. So it's going to be a wing it show. I'm pretty sure you can hear me. Producer Mike in Canada is going to join in a couple minutes if he isn't there yet. I know the Instagram audience is here, but most importantly, who you're all here to see. That one over there, she's here. Hello, Nicole. Fresh back from the Marconi. We've got Christian James Hand in the seat. We're going to start right up with him right now after Will tells us how to start the thing. Will, you know what to do. Kevin, you gonna buy a beaver?
Boom. Oh, my dad showed up.
Oh, shit. All that talk, and I forgot to do something rather important. Oh, well, it is what it is. We'll start the thing over here. Good evening and welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Nicole is to my right. My name is Jay Ryan. We have got the man himself in the seat over here, Christian James Hand. What the fuck is your... Oh, is that just somebody going like this on the keyboard? Is that what that is?
No, this is Gent, which is a it's a this what is that? Gent is it's a genre of music. It's what fucking what's his name from Periphery from what's
Misha.
his name? Yeah, so Misha's band is Junt.
No way.
And what a Junt is Junt. So I made T-shirts that go Junt.
That's amazing.
So hence the Junt T-shirt that my dad is currently wearing in your studio.
I
don't
think
know who
your
that
dad
guy
looks,
is.
Your dad looks great. Your
Thanks,
dad looks
man.
Great. We've improved the lighting in here a little bit. If you think that's what your dad, this is actually a very fair representation of what you look like. That's about it.
I'm not cool with that at all. I thought I was thinner and more handsome for sure. Damn it! The fucking disappointment.
You look fantastic. I think you do look. I don't know if you look thin, but
I've
look
lost
like
weight.
You're in shape.
Thank you. I've lost weight. I put on 25 pounds during COVID. I went up to almost 215 pounds, which is like my running around weight was 185 prior to that.
Stretch this out while I get the 3-shot going here.
So, yes, it turns out if you get horribly depressed during quarantine and just eat cookies and ice cream.
But didn't we all do that? Isn't that exactly?
Yeah, and the thing was, like, for the first bit, I was okay, and then it was the second shutdown that I was like, oh, so we're never coming out of this. I'm just going to eat until I die, and I'm just going to lie on the floor and watch Netflix, and this is now my life. I'm just going to end up being like one of those things from, what was that Wall-E movie when they were in the fat people were in the cars, just, I was like, that's
We reference that all the time because we feel like we're living in that world where everyone's just stuck to their screen and go, ooh, red, the new blue.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
Blue.
It's 100%. It's
just
not
taking the program however it's given to them, floating around on their little easy chairs on a cruise ship in space.
That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like I've done.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight.
Well, then I'm your man. Yeah, I'm going to be very distracted by the fat, bald guy.
I don't think you look fat. Do you want me to change the camera?
No,
do you want
please.
me to turn the lights out?
No, could you just change my head? That's fantastic. We'll do the first lights out version.
I think you already know. I think you're great as a person and as an artist. But like we went and saw your show the other night. And you did the Cars, and it was a nice little play on words there. It was like a before and after.
Ray Jepsen.
There you go. And I don't know which one I liked more.
The
whole thing
is
just so great, and to see it live, that was our first time. Really, really blew me away. And I want to know fucking why you do it, where it came from. Like, tell me where the session was born, and then we'll go from there. We'll just noodle around.
Well, I when I was a kid, I loved radio, and I was like, all right, I want to do radio for the rest of my life. And then I did it, and I was like, this is horribly lacking. But I had decided early on in my life that all I really wanted was to have music be part of my life on a daily basis, and I didn't want to ever have a regular job that stopped me from having music be my focus daily. And then I wore every hat that you could wear in the music industry, and turned out at the end of the day, music was the least important part of the music industry, no matter what I did, whether it was work at a record label or work at a radio station or work on music videos or, tour. Touring was different. The reason I didn't want to tour was because I'm a homebody. I got offered like the Pink Floyd tour, which was like 2.5 years, and I was like, I'll never be the same, and I'll never stop. Like, once you get into that machine, the money is so good, and the lifestyle is so cool, and you're doing so much shit that suddenly you wake up and you're 65 years old, and everybody has an Iron Maiden story, and I was like, I don't want to be one of these dudes. Like I literally don't. I don't want to be one of those guys. So
that's a type. It's a specific type. And I get it.
All of them. God. Every guy. I was like, oh, what's your Iron Maiden story? So I quit being on the road, and then I worked at a record label, and that was fun but sucked. It wasn't about music again. And then I got into radio, which was my goal, and then they brought me out here. And then one of my friends who's had a very long career, like a guy I know who has a very long career in radio, has said, career in radio is going on vacation with your furniture. Because you're just constantly moving. A new program director comes in, you get fired. The station's ratings go down, you get fired.
So you're traveling from market to market.
You're just going. You're just taking your wares with you. And I got, I was in radio for a year and a half, and I'd already moved from New York to L.A., on the air in L.A., #1 rated dude on my radio station, and still fired. And I was like, and then I got offered all these jobs.
That's like the Howard Stern story, right?
Yeah, it was just awful, and that's exactly what it was. It's like, that's the career. So I was offered Chicago and San Francisco and all these places, because when you're on the air in L.A., it's a big deal. It's market 2, but as far as the only reason New York is a bigger market is because of the population density. So LA's market 2, but really it's market 1.
Because you're dealing with 50,000 watts, so it only goes so far. So if you got the concentration of people, you're getting more hits. Oh, that's
And in
wild.
LA, so K-Rock's antenna is in Mexico. So they're not even here.
Is that true?
Oh yeah, because it's unregulated. So they have they can just blow 1 million billion watts across the border. So
they have one here in LA that's 50,000, but they got another one.
So I was like, I don't want to move around. I don't want to. I'm in LA. I'm like, all you're going to be doing is trying to get back here. So then I was like, what can I do? So I started working in music videos, and that was like, it's just a commercial for a song. It's not, it's like it lasts. It's ephemeral. And I was like, fuck. So then I started working at Sirius, which is the Kaiser Permanente of radio.
Yeah.
Which was a really difficult, my boss from the old radio station was there. And so I worked there. And when I was there, in between, I'd started making records for record labels and independent people. And you'd be working with an engineer, and the guy'd be like, "Oh man, I got like 3 Fleetwood Mac and a Pantera. What do you got?" And he'd be like, "Oh dude, I got like 2 Who and a Beatles." And you trade, and what we were trading were these sessions, these files. So then I started doing it on Sirius. I started just doing the vocals on a show with a guy named Jason Ellis.
But they were the multi-track files.
Yeah, but he didn't like doing the whole songs. He just liked doing the vocal.
Ah, okay, got it.
So when I left Sirius, I hit up my buddy at The Sound, which was a radio station that was on the air at the time, and I was like, "Hey man, I do this thing that I think this station might like, and I know that you're on the air with Mark from Mark and Brian, and I want to come and try this." And to his credit, and God bless him for it, Mark didn't even know what I was doing and just had me on. And I'd found out that his favorite artist of all time was Marvin Gaye, so I heard it through the grapevine with him sitting there, and it was like I'll never forget it. He just sat here, and I had like brain bits all over me.
Religious experience,
and at the end of it, he was like, "You're coming back," and blah 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 blah. So then I got a full-time job there, which was
you're coming back.
Terrible idea. The program. So a guy who I used to be friends with, Andy, was my co-host, and. The program director went into Andy and was like, "Hey, I've got great news, man. We just hired Christian Hand and full time and blah." And Andy had known me for years at that point, and he just looked at the program director and he said, "Congratulations, you've just let the loosest cannon I've ever met in my life into the building." And I proceeded to try to make that poor program director's life as miserable as I possibly could. It became sport,
living up to that reputation.
Oh, dude, that's the point. You're on the radio. I'm suspended right now. I'm on my 5th fucking suspension. And I'm like, the point is, like, that's my job. If you're not, all my heroes have been suspended. If you're not getting suspended, you're not doing the job. Your job is to be a piece of sand that becomes a fucking pearl.
Do they see it that way anymore?
No.
You mentioned the Kaiser
They're
Permanente.
dicks.
Everything is...
No, everyone is like so bland and so safe and doesn't want to lose their job. And I'm like, it's not the fucking point. The point is to be a disruptive technology as a person. That's what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not doing that, then you are a cog in a wheel, in a big machine. And I never wanted to be that. So I drove that guy crazy. So while I was there, I went and saw a guy do an exploration of the Beatles. He does this lecture series. And he didn't have stems or anything, but he did have these like pieces from the anthology series of like alt takes and like little snippets of things in between. And it was one of the things that I learned from the most important thing I learned from watching that guy do it was that it was a rehearsed PowerPoint presentation. So he was bored himself. So there was no excitement, and the audience was just sitting there at this lecture. And I noticed them re-engage when he played something that they hadn't heard before. And I was like, oh, okay. So here are the 2 things. The whole show needs to be about the stems. And then the other thing is that it has to be improv. There can be so when I sit down, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
What the fuck?
So it's made up on the spot for the whole 2 hours. Like there's not even the only joke that I had from the Carly Rae Jepsen one that I had used. So I used to do my show in San Francisco in the before times, and so I had a show there where I did. I was like, oh, Joy Division and Nirvana, that's a great pairing. And literally, as I sat down to start the show and looked out at like 200 people, and I looked at the cards, I realized that both of these bands had ended with the death of their lead singer by suicide. So I'm sitting there, and I was like, holy fuck, like this is just going to be a total bummer of a night for everyone who's showing up. Total downer.
Way to cut it.
Like there's no way to play the band. Like you can't start with one and be like, well, the next one's and the Nirvana show ends with me reading Kurt's suicide note, which is unbelievably heavy. And like the crowd is just looking at me, and I was like, yeah. So I kind of didn't think about this, everybody. So here's what we're gonna do: an impromptu Call Me Right, and I just did the Call Me Maybe as a fucking chaser just to get everybody fucking stoked.
Yeah.
And what I did when I did that one was when I discovered Joey Mouse.
Oh,
so that was the only joke that I brought over, but I didn't have a picture of him. So he was completed at the one that you saw. I was like literally
the whole character.
I was just sitting there and I was like, okay, just sounds like a little mouse is playing guitar. So when it came to that one, I was like, well, I can't abandon Joey Mouse because it's such a great bit, but I need to have a picture.
Yeah, but that's acceptable. I mean, you're doing a whole 2 hours of crowd work with one bit in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You get a pass by me, mister.
And then, one of my friends who was there, she was like, my favorite part of Joey Mouse was where he went dark. She's like, because he became a real bastard and like a total douchebag drug addict.
When it was about the money and everything else, yeah.
And I was like, I hadn't even fucking thought about that. Like, he was so pure at the one in San Francisco, and then here he just became like a money-grubbing guitar scumbag.
Yeah, I just assumed it was the record industry influence.
Of course, it's what it does to everybody, even an adorable mouse. So that was the other thing that I learned from that show. I was like, this has to be improv.
Well,
like, it has to be made up.
Perhaps that's what's so special about it is that it's not prepared other than you know what you're going to do. But you go through the music and you know how you're going to break it down, or you know what's going to take you from here. Is that how your brain works when you hear that music?
I listen to, for the live ones, I listen through every track so that I know that there are specific things that I'm going to hit. Like, if there's an amazing bass part, you don't want to ignore that, obviously. The Call Me Maybe stems I'm very familiar with because I've done that on Instagram a bunch of times, and it's one of my favorites to do because it's like such a mind blower to the people who experience it. The Cars I'd never done. I don't think I'd done that one. I might have done that on the radio, but I hadn't done it live in like the hour-long thing. So the Call Me Maybe one was just like a greatest hits of like stupid bits that I'd thought of.
But her friend, our old Hollywood friends, used to make fun of me for like at that time. I was like, you guys don't understand shit. I was like, dude, I don't care. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's good, it's good.
And it's the debut song from this, the first single from their debut album, and it's just like fucking like such a home run. So that was how the show came to be. Was I was like, I need to. So I was at the Sound, and I was like, okay, I went and saw this guy do this Beatles thing, and I was like, man, I wonder if I could do a live show of this. But I didn't really know what it was going to be like, so I convinced the radio station to hire my friend had a really beautiful rehearsal studio in Atwater, and they had a big room that could fit about 150 people. So I had the radio station pay to rent that room. And then I went on the air, and I was like, I'm going to do this. Because I was doing full songs on the Sound. So I was like, I'm going to do full songs, but I'm going to do them in this show that I don't know what it's going to be like. I have no idea how this is going to work. But if you all want to show up to see what this experiment feels like.
Okay. So you called it an experiment right out of the...
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is going to be like.
Well, that's perfect.
I have no fucking clue. And I think the first one was Toto and Heard It Through the Grapevine, which is sort of like my...
Africa or Rosanna?
It would have been Rosanna. Africa's my great white whale. Like, I'm trying to get the stems for Africa. I've had like
I'm a drummer. I love Rosanna.
I mean, it's the fucking his version of the Purdy Shuffle.
You got
dude.
a Rolly Shuffle, exactly, and it's
insane.
so hot.
Picaro. So that was
Excuse me,
the
Jay.
thing. So then,
Mike's here. Hey, what's up, Mr. Canadian Mike? How are you, buddy?
this is much better.
Hey,
lighting.
boys, and Nicole. Great to hear from you all. eButler811 wants to know if there's going to be any more Twitch sessions.
I'm not answering any questions about Twitch sessions.
Well, all right then. There you go, eButler.
But the reason is there's a reason you wouldn't do answer a question like that. It's been a hassle in the past.
I'm
trying to have you not answer the question, but maybe explain why.
I'm really burnt.
Yeah.
I'm really burnt out.
Okay.
And it's the entire enterprise has stopped being fun.
Yeah. The platform.
All of it.
Oh, the whole doing the session. You know,
thing.
when we saw you the other night, while the performance art that night was totally up to par, when I saw you right afterwards, you were like, fucking over it.
Yeah, I'm entirely,
I didn't know what was...
Yeah,
what
no,
was,
I'd had 20 minutes before I went on stage, I was screaming at my manager, and I've only screamed at people involved in this thing twice, and both of them have been in the last 6 months, which to me indicates that something's broken. Mm-hmm. So I need to find out what's broken and fix it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my last show of the year, October 22nd, I think, at the Bourbon Room. And I'm renting it, and I'm just going to give away tickets. Oh. And I'm not telling anyone what fucking bands I'm doing. I'm not telling anyone what fucking songs I'm doing. It's my night, and if you want to show up and hang out, please do. And if it's 30 people, it's 30 people. And if it's 200 people, it's 200 people. But I don't like this I don't like this thing of like having to preordain what songs it's going to be so that I can, I'm off the fucking, I'm off the air because my radio station are a bunch of fucking cowards. So I'm off the air, so I don't have my principal source of advertising my show. Mm-hmm. So I'm selling half the tickets because I don't have a radio station to support me. And I don't like walking into a venue and half filling it. Even though it's costing me money, I don't like, and it's not like I'm walking like, I need a full house for me to do my thing. It's like, I don't like venue owners looking at me and being like, this fucking guy isn't selling out the space anymore. Like, they're making this, they get all the money. So I was like, I hit up the Bourbon Room and I was like, how much? And they gave me a number and I was like, done. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you can have that plus the bar. All I want to do is just show up and do, and I know what 2 songs I'm doing, and I'm so fucking stoked about them, but nobody else is going to know until I sit down.
Is it the type of thing where everybody's got their 2 cents? Is that the problem?
No, I mean, I've run, it's, one of the things that's nice about being the only person that really does this is, apart from my dad, suggestions aren't really proffered. My dad and I had a very long phone call the other day where he hung up on me at the end of it. Didn't go well. And he texted me and was like, well, that went well. His final words to me were, well, you could just fuck off, and then hung up on me. And I was like, okay, this is great. So I'm like, my managers don't even talk to me like that, Dad. So it's, it's not an outside force that's making it feel that way. It's an internal force or an internal thing that is reacting to. It doesn't feel as pure as it used to.
Yeah, this sounds like artist shit to me.
It is, like, and I hate being that guy.
Why?
It's because it's fucking lame.
It makes me feel good having you do it.
I hate. I'm a complicated artist. I'm a fucking dude who sits down and makes stupid jokes and plays fucking songs. It's but at the same point, it has it having done almost 1,000 songs on Instagram at this point, and having done this now for 5 years, and I think I have a little bit of PTSD from the quarantine experience, to be honest with you, and that sort of that rhythm of doing it every day. So another thing I'm doing, which I'll offer to you guys as well, is like I'm gonna also just go and do people's houses.
Oh, I love that.
And just do the living room and be like, I'm at 10 of your friends. Like my buddy Kai, I'm going to go do the Queen show on his deck. And he's going to invite like 11 of his friends because I don't think his deck can support any more than 11 people. It's a horrible way to go.
Intimate,
just get back to get back to the like it not being an audience and it not being this thing that has all of this built-in pressure of like growth and it's got to be bigger than the last one. You didn't sell 200 tickets and blah 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 blah. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm bummed about it, but I'm really excited about the idea of being able to book a room and pay for it and then just be able to do whatever the fuck I want and not care. And then there's a place called Love Songs, which is like the little bar that's next door to the Regent downtown, and they can do like 30 people in there. So I'm thinking of grabbing that from 6 to 9 and just doing every Saturday night until the end of the year. And whoever shows up, shows up.
Do a little mini residency.
Yeah, and do the same thing, not tell anyone what I'm doing, and just fucking do songs that I feel like doing. And Reggie and I want to do one together. He wants to do Still of the Night by Whitesnake, which will be amazing.
Hilarious.
And then, which was so good. And then Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo wants to do one with me, which would be cool. So we might do that at Matato. So I want to do like cool, like specific events, and then just a bunch of them that are for me, and just finish the year that way out.
Turn it back into a session versus a show.
And have it just be something where I'm really excited. I mean, like when I snapped the other night, I was really bummed about it. And
at yourself?
I was bummed at myself that it happened. I was bummed that I'd been pushed into that place by things that I can't really honestly talk about, which is really annoying too, because there's just things that are happening in the background.
Sure, but it was a moment of overwhelm, as it sounds like.
Yeah, and the moment that I knew I was fucked was when I was pointing out the wrong dude from the band, from the cars, and somebody from the crowd is like, that's not him. And I was like, my fucking brain was so distracted by this other pressure that I had that I'm like not even giving the people in the band correct credit. And I was like, this is broken, dude. Like, you've never been this unfocused. You've never been this fucking fucked up that you would mistake one guy in a band for another guy. And I was was like, okay, we need to take a look at this.
You're zooming in on it. I was in the room, and I was actually in the back of the room and watched that entire thing, and it was, first of all, over like that, and I bet it stuck with you the whole time. But the truth is, you were on a really good riff in that moment, and especially now knowing that it was all improv, like, you know how the creative fucking stream is. Like, you were just plugged into that stream, and then you were like, and this fucking guy, and you made fun of whatever the fuck. But it was the other fucking just
Elliot's
as goofy
hair.
looking guy. It was the. I get why it ate you up.
Yeah.
But like, it wasn't a big deal. It was just
I don't
one
think
more thing on your.
I don't think anyone else really even probably noticed it, but to me it was like, oh, I've never done that before. Like, that's a mistake I've never made, and I've been doing this for 5-6 years, and I've never had that experience of like, oh shit, you're right. So it was just another box check where I was like, I need to reclaim this. And part of the the pressure of people, part of the pressure of people wanting me to go back and do it is what makes me not want to go back and do it.
Amen. Again, the artist thing. Oh, you like me now? I'm not doing it anymore.
It's just it's the same thing that my managers have. It's like expectation. Like, when there's expectation built in, it becomes like obligation is the destruction of art.
Yes. Let me make something. Stop fucking worrying about what it is.
And it really, especially when it's something that, it's like my fucking management team. We had like these poor people. It really is. I don't know why anyone would sign up. So their digital team did like this like fucking 20-minute presentation on the Zoom call, and they'd worked really hard on it, and they about like this digital campaign that we were going to go through, and they went through the whole thing, and it was all like posts and suggested posts and blah blah blah, and they went through this thing, and then at the end of it, I just looked at everybody and I was like, I got to be honest with you, I'm not going to do any of that.
But that's why.
I'm not going to do any of it.
But that's why you're special, and you're not just somebody. That's why you have representation.
Well, I'm sure that my managers would have a different discussion. They'd be like, stop saying that to him. But it was like, and I said to them, I'm like, listen, they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm like fucking 53 years old, and I fought really hard to get to the point where I don't have a day job. So the last thing I want to do is to turn this thing that I do into a fucking day job where every day I've got the obligation to like put up this thing and do that. And they were like, put up waveforms and like say, which drum track is this from, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, if I was fucking 30 years old, that's probably a really cool idea. And somebody should absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that because I'm not built that way. And B, the obligation to do that makes this a job, and the reason that I made this thing up for the beginning was because I didn't want to have a job. And it really, like this is all fucking ludicrous because the job is fucking stupid. So there are people who work real jobs, and this isn't a real job. But the truth is that the more you do something that is based on a passion, it becomes really difficult to me. I can't listen to music anymore. Like, I have $11,000 speakers at my house. I have a fucking $800 turntable. I have a $1,000 preamp, and I watch television through my fucking speakers.
Is it because it turns it into work for you?
Because my brain just can't listen anymore. My brain is just like, it doesn't derive any joy from the listening of the music because it's all calculation now. Like, it's it's snapped that part of me that used to be able to sit and and I can do it if I get high. If I sit down, I can get high and I can sit there. My brain can just sort of like stop thinking and just be in this fucking zone. I listen in the car, which is obviously, the one of the best places to listen to music.
Well, you get in that like theta state kind of thing.
It's like, it's the soundtrack to my drive, But unfortunately, like, no, I don't listen to music. And I remember, fucking 15, 20 years ago, sitting down in front of speakers for hours. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And just being
album
like
album
after album, and like, and I don't have that experience anymore, and it really bums me out. There's a lot of mourning of the friendship of that music it offered me that doesn't exist anymore. Absolutely. Because it's become this thing where I hyper focus on it, and my brain is constantly now computer. That's why I can't have music on when I'm having sex.
Hilarious.
Because I'll literally be like...
It takes you out of the...
I'll be like, what is that?
Oh, my God.
That's at a 16th hi-hat to an 8th, and then there's an... Oh, what a great guitar tone that is. And, I literally can't do it. And like, I've had partners who are like, dude, can we put some music on? I'm like, I would prefer not to.
Yeah.
If you really want this to be fireworks and fucking the electric parade, we can't have any music playing. Because otherwise, I'm not going to be here because I'm going to be really stoked about that bass line that's going on in that thing right now.
God.
It's awful. Like,
or you like it too much, and then
I'm
that's
autistic.
over.
My
Yeah.
brain, I cannot, like the ability to, to have sound. Not that's why I have to tell people during the show, please don't talk. It's not me being an asshole. It's like literally, my brain cannot do this and hear that. My brain will want to know what that thing that you're doing is. And the last two crowds have been fucking raucous, dude. That one was pretty raucous for the Call Me Maybe, but the Depeche Mode one was just fucking batshit. Like the crowd was just like, and I was like holding them, it was like a bucking bronco, and I was like,
can't do any of
Jesus.
that. Are you that way? Like even just say it like a Cars and Coffee, where we're sitting on the porch or whatever, but then the guy happens to be behind you with the other.
Oh, yeah, no,
just a little bit too long. Like I can't even.
Can't do it.
No, same here.
Or auditory sensitivity, man. It's like the real dick punch now, thanks to the world, is the fucking cell phone speaker.
Oh, it's the worst. You can't avoid it.
Motherfucker, I'm over it, dude. People watching fucking shit in a restaurant with there was a fucking I almost got into a fight at my buddy's restaurant, Blue Jam on Melrose, and I was there the other day, and a dude was on a call with a friend of his on FaceTime.
No.
With the not earbuds in, having a conversation
Nope.
And I was like, dude, turn the fucking thing off. And he's like, what's the difference between him being here and being on the thing? I'm like, do you really want to get into this? Because I'm a sound engineer. So what it is that it's reduced all of the lows from this. So all we're getting is a little bit of the bandwidth, which is all in mids,
And
which
it's
is
all
cutting
compressed.
through everything that's happening around here. And all I hear is your inane fucking conversation. And I just want to enjoy my Eggs Benedict.
Yeah.
So that drives me batshit because that frequency has been set up specifically to do that.
So that you can, so that it cuts through, but it'll go 50 feet further than the guy's voice if you were sitting there.
So the auditory sensitivity thing is really, it's like it is it's part of the superpower of the Asperger's, and it allows me to listen in a way that I can't get exhausted. But when it comes to living with human beings,
that's
so
the problem.
It's slightly
it would
taxing.
be fine if everyone were on the spectrum. I
Dude,
really
that's
am.
the
I mean,
future.
like it would be so.
It's the future.
Well, I agree with that too. Do you feel that you're evolved?
Well, there's actually a very interesting philosophy in the the Aspie community. Well, we're not allowed to call ourselves Asperger's anymore, by the way.
It's what is it now? It's
ASD.
It's
Yeah.
ASD.
ASD.
It's,
Autism spectrum disorder.
I don't like the disorder. I'm like, that
Right.
seems judgmental.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah,
about
just
just
say
what
how
order
about
it
just
is.
AS?
Everything is a spectrum.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
So to make it a disorder means it's wrong.
Right.
And there's a TV show, the Typical. Have you seen it?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Atypical or typical?
Atypical.
Atypical.
Yep.
It talks about how I think it's a sibling is like, maybe Asperger's people are the smartest people because they see through all the shit. And I'm like, I get it.
You definitely operate on different frequencies, at least for myself.
Well, one of the things that's interesting about it, right, is so there's this philosophy in the Aspie world that this is sort of like the next level of evolution.
Dr.
That's
Asperger's dead, right? Like he wouldn't be upset that we're taking his name off this thing.
No, and the reason we're taking his name off his thing because he was one of Hitler's boys.
All right.
Yeah, there's the researchers pointed out that he was responsible for the deaths of a lot of Jewish autistic
Can't
children
have anything nice.
because he was a
All right.
fucking Nazi
Fine.
scumbag.
I'll definitely stop saying that.
Sucks, but also I
It was nice to have a guy there who recognized, hey, I'm different, and it was nice to be able to say, hey, thanks for that, for recognizing that I'm different than other people. But
Well, and then
now
the
it
other
turns
thing
out
for me
guy's
is
a bit of
that-
a son of a bitch too.
just from like an Aspergian perspective, like I think not having that subset actually minimizes what autism is.
Oh.
I think there should be a subset for people who are on this X area of the spectrum because we function in a way that is different to people who have autism.
I agree.
So those
and it's
people,
not just a small variance. It
no,
seems
it's
to be a
massive.
different thing.
And this spectrum of autism is much bigger than the spectrum of Asperger's. So
Oh,
to me,
shit,
like
I agree with you.
this container for autistic children should be allowed to sit on its own, so that I can look and be like, yeah, no, don't worry about me. I can balance a checkbook.
We did need to get rid of the Asperger's,
Yeah.
but we should have called it something other
There should
than
be another
autism
name for it
spectrum
that
disorder.
allows
Yeah.
allows people on like on this end of the spectrum to be able to be bifurcated from the body of autistic children, because that area is like really severely autistic people are night and day from you and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
generally no people skills, no functionability in regular.
And some of them have no verbal skills or anything. So I just, I was kind of like, but nonetheless, the Aspies do think that we're the next level of evolution of human beings. Which
amazing.
I think, part of it feels true, because there's the ability to, like my ex-girlfriend used to say, she was like, the last thing that anyone should ever ask you is your opinion, and then follow it with, please tell me the truth, because you're just going to get this double-barreled thing that's got no... Yeah, tell me the truth. And you're just like, okay, here it is. But the truth is, that sucks.
Well, tell me your real opinion is different than tell me your opinion, tell me the truth.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working with a record label guy, and he was like, you're the only person I've ever worked with who actually will tell somebody the truth. And I was like, it's the most valuable thing that you have.
I totally agree with you.
And
anybody who doesn't is doing a disservice, I feel. Whether
especially for artists.
The booger in your nose or the fact that, that blouse is not great with those,
right.
That whatever.
Well, that's not your best work. Like when I produce bands or I work with artists, it's a really difficult thing to do, to look at somebody and be like, that's not your best work. But that's the most vital thing that they can hear, because it's the thing that spurs them on to then do their best work.
Right.
But if everything they do, they get a fucking parade for it, then there's no way to learn that.
It's never going to get better.
And that's what a majority of people do, because a majority of people don't, like they empathically don't want to hurt somebody. But if you're working with someone, it's vitally important to look at them and be like, I don't know, man, I think you could do better. And it's one of the things that I have friends of mine, a certain percentage of my friends who I really trust, to be able to look at me and be like, yeah, man, I'm not sure that one was the best one. And I'll be like, no, it wasn't. Like there are friends of mine who are like, I don't know, Cars was iffy as fuck. And I was like, beyond. Cars was like a condemned building. Carly Rae Jepsen saved it, but that Cars one,
it wasn't as bad as I think you think it is. But
I appreciate it.
I understand why. But I just whatever.
But that like the thing is
we
that
took it down in there intentionally. You had us listen to just the lyrics of that one song that was like
Drive.
Yeah,
incredible.
And that's a heavy fucking. So we all went there too.
Yeah.
I mean? So you
that
you
saved
gave us-
it. Like for me, having the Benjamin Orr vocal, which was not something that I hadn't committed to doing it. I was like, let's just see how the room feels.
Oh, you called that on the fly?
Yeah, that was an audible where I was like, because I do like, because Carly Rae Jepsen really doesn't have an emotional depth to it, right? So it's just this beautiful.
No, it's Aspie porn.
And it's just it's this beautiful simplicity of it's simple, complex, simple, right? So, but I try with each session that I do, because I don't like to call them shows. I do try to hit an emotional point, so that we have a place, so that like we're in. And the Benjamin Orr thing allows you to really feel something, because there's no delays or reverbs on it, so it's this dry dude just standing at a microphone, and it's extraordinary.
It feels like you're in the room and he's just talking to you.
Yeah, and that PA in that JBL PA in that room is fucking.
It's one thing. The Bourbon Room, great sound.
JBL, it's my buddy Becky.
They got master arrays like it's a fucking coliseum.
Yeah, well, they used to do that Rock of Ages show there.
Oh,
that's what that set is from. So they used to do the Rock of Ages thing there, and then coming out of quarantine, everything was gear grindy. So they were just like, let's just get bodies into this room and then work out what we're doing in 2023. So that's why that stage set is still there. So that curtain that's behind me is where the band is for the show. So that's why that PA is so badass, is because they used to do a musical in that room. And it's a great PA. I actually love that room, and I'm not going to be able to use it in 2023, unfortunately, because they're pivoting their business model, which totally makes sense. I mean,
really?
Yeah, because it's a rough room. it's up a staircase. So like you're not like, oh, let's see if there's a murderer up this staircase. If you're from Ohio, like foot traffic is hard.
You have to be going to the show.
You got to know why you're going there very specifically. So it's a hard room. It looks
like a private club.
And it's a hard room to put bodies in that are on the fly.
It's a shame. It's like
great.
So good once you get in
it's so
there.
Good.
Just get up the stairs, folks. Room, Hollywood.
They're gonna pivot to not. I don't think they're gonna put Rock of Ages back in there, but they're gonna pivot to more things that are like ongoing, where you have and
residency type thing.
I could do it, but it's just it's a lot of work to do 200 tickets every weekend.
My old friend Kim Curry, I've known her for fucking 20 years probably. She does PR for them, spin PR, and she used to do like the Key Club and all that shit. What was it? Metal School? Remember Metal School?
Oh yeah, of course.
The old days? It's not Metal School anymore because they had to change the name, I think. But she always had stuff like that. So maybe stuff like that's going to come
exactly.
in, maybe?
So they're going to do things where you're because what you're looking for is, I showed up this weekend, same thing happening next weekend. I'm going to bring more people next weekend.
Yeah.
And a venue of that
and the
size
flyer stays the same every week, and it
just generates that. So somebody like me, where I'm coming in there once a month, it's great, but it's not countable. And especially now when you pulled off the air and then your ticket sales are immediately halved, it's like I can't even.
How long is your suspension? Do we know?
No.
Is it indefinite right now?
Yeah, it's as long as he's fucking. It might be permanent. I don't know yet. Like it's just.
But right now you're suspended.
Yeah, this is my 5th suspension in my career of radio. It's my 3rd suspension at KLOS.
All right, we got a couple comments here. We're going to do this. Let's see. James Morin says, love CJH. Audiobooks says CJH rocks. Dream and TV, please ask CHS why the online sessions are no more. We already handled that. Let's see. And the people showed up, says Jody Tierney. I think that was when you were talking about booking that room.
They did.
Completely understandable. I agree. Thanks for explaining. Thank you for all you've done helping people discover the depth of music. I listen so much more intently now. Now that is an astute comment.
That's my favorite thing to hear.
Hey guys, there's another one on Instagram too. Just we'll forever be grateful for how CJH and the Sesh opened my ears to a whole new dimension of sound. And lots of love. There's lots of love on these comments as well. CJH is a straight up boss, and Carly Rae is a great demo track. People are asking, with the podcast hopefully launching, which guests are you looking most forward to? Lots of love here for Christian, and I mean,
that's gotta
I
feel
miss
good,
this
even though
voice.
you're
There's
internally
lots of love
struggling.
coming to you right now.
It's got to feel good that everyone really appreciates you and the work that you do.
Yeah,
or not? Do you just ignore that part?
No, it's humbling, but I'm also very uncomfortable.
Receiving the.
It's the messages that I get are some of that's why I put them in the Instagram story, because it's humbling to know that people have had profound experiences listening to me with their there was a dude who hit me up. This was before the world shut down, and he sent me an email and he was like, I just want to thank you because my father and I have been estranged for about 15 years. Whoa. And I hadn't spoken to him in that amount of time. And a year and a half ago, I discovered your KLOS thing. So randomly, I just fucking nutted up. And I sent my dad, because he was like a Blue Oyster Cult, or one of them, like a huge fan. Sure. He's like, so I sent him.
You got to have that cowbell.
Everybody needs it. More of it. So he's like, I sent him that, and we slowly started to talk, and now I'm flying to Orange County, and I'm going to spend the last 2 weeks of his life with him because he's dying of cancer. And if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be having that experience with him. And it's, moments like that. It was another one when those huge Australian fires were happening.
Let us have this one for a second. That's a moment and a half. Holy crap. That's something that will never be quantifiable. Do you understand that'll never get worked into a residency or a ticket amount or anything?
And it's something I never in a million years would have imagined possible. I didn't think that me sitting there and being stoked about Blue Oyster Cult or whatever it was would be a bridge for somebody to be able to reconnect with their father, who they hadn't spoken to in 15 years, and they were now going to go spend the dude's last 2 weeks with him while he was still alive. And I'm just like, fuck me, like this is it's humbling isn't even the word.
You know who you are? You're Kevin from Home Alone. That old man, I cry at that every freaking time. Every time.
Well, I'll take it. I'm Macaulay Culkin of music.
No, the old man and the neighbor. You
All
should
right.
call your son.
Yeah. It's another one that was dope was this when the big forest fires or the big fires were happening in Australia. This dude sent me a message and it was in real time on Facebook, and he was like, "We've been fighting this fucking monster fire for like 18 hours and we're fucking exhausted and we're
Thousands of acres. This was
He was like, "We have just been fighting this beast, and we're on the truck and we're driving out and we know we're going to come back tomorrow." And he's like, "So I put on the 20-minute version, the 20-minute session of Iris." And he's like, "I just want you to know you've got a fire truck full of Australian firemen crying and singing at the top of their lungs right now."
exactly
it's
the
like-
release they needed at that moment.
And things like that are, that's, you can't say that's why I do it, because that's just pretentious bullshit. But,
That's why you do it.
when you get things like that, you realize that once it's like any art, and I hate to call it art, but when you put it out there, you immediately you lose control of it. As an Aspergian person, to lose control of things is one of the most difficult things to do.
Yeah.
So when you put these things out into the world, which is why I like the containment of a live show, it's like I can, like that room is mine to do with as I please. But when you put these things into the ether, you don't know what they're going to do. They're going to find a life of their own. And when they come back at you and they bring these amazing stories with them, it's like, it's the equivalent of that 20-minute segment being my own song that I've written. And they've carried, now it has people have memories attached to the first time that they heard me do a thing. And it's like,
Well, for me, I'm guessing, you put it out there into the ether, but then when it comes back, you realize it actually went somewhere. It didn't just go to the ether. It landed on that person and that guy's dad and whatever the heck,
Yeah.
It's like a weird pay it forward to.
and then they bring their own experience to it. Like I had to pull, because of all this bullshit I'm dealing with, I had to pull my KLOS archive down, all this other stuff. And the amount of outpouring from people from around the world who are like, there's a dude in Osaka who was like, "Dude, that was my thing." And
That was my
sitting
library.
on the train, and I would just listen to, and I'm like, there's a dude on a bullet train in Japan listening to my work. There's a firefighter in Australia listening to what I do. When I was doing the Instagram sessions, and people would get up at 3:00 in the morning in Taiwan to listen to what I'm doing. And it's like, I had no idea that any of this would happen. I just thought it would be like I could maybe eke out a living for a couple of years.
While enjoying my music.
Yeah, just trying to find a way to re-engage with the most important thing in my life, which is music.
Yeah.
That's the relationship that matters, unfortunately.
Terry Klein agrees completely, and that was with the praise for you, of course. I am thankful for the time you have given us, says Jody.
Feels like I'm dead.
Same thing.
It feels like
Shady go for
awake.
hosting
It's not awake,
Rich.
everybody.
Let's see.
I'll be back in some way, shape, or form.
That system is ridiculous. Talking about the
the bourbon
JBL.
room. Yeah. Well, put it this way. What I'm going to be doing on October 22nd, I have picked specifically because, part of the reason is that it's going to sound ridiculous in that room.
Oh, outstanding.
It's going to sound ridiculous.
You were nightly therapy for a huge part of this last year. It's nice to see other people out there that love the deep dive. Dissect and appreciate all the parts that create the final song. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
From Ian R. Curlis.
Well, the thing is, the podcast is now...
You are everything, says Kermie.
Well, that's a terrible thought. But I appreciate it. The podcast is the next thing. Once I can get this thing up and running, because that's the other
Can
thing.
we
is
talk
that,
about it at all?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
I know some
podcast.
of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, it's like so basically what's happened is the contract got batted backwards and forwards, so that I could spend thousands on lawyers.
But do people know even this is a huge possible opportunity for you here?
Yeah, it's over the course of quarantine, Will Arnett became a fan, which was But here's the thing.
Illusions, Dad. You don't have time for my illusions.
I had a call with him where at the end of the phone call, I was like, hey, can you do me a favor real quick? And he goes, what's that? And I was like, can you say I'm Batman? And he goes,
the Lego movie.
and he goes, no, man, I can't. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, I can't do it. And I was like, what? You have to like Lego has some kind of fucking thing with you where you can't say it? And he goes, no. He goes, you want to know why I can't say it? And I was like, why? And he goes, because I'm Batman. Well, so here's the thing. Like, I'm always reticent to say that can't even say the thing that I'm going to say.
You don't want to say good stuff before it happens?
It's that I'm never one to say that I have done a thing that is smart. But I will say that one of the things that I will give myself is that I sussed out really early that if you don't create opportunities for yourself, then they're not going to show up. Yeah. And what you're going to do then is you're going to put so much into the lap of the fucking great pumpkin, and the great pumpkin can't really help you out unless you let it know what you fucking want to have happen.
Right.
So the same thing happened with John Mayer. So Is
the great pumpkin the universe, the god, the whatever, the grand poobah? Okay.
It's the spiritual mover.
Beautiful.
So there's a guy named Wally Pfister who had joined one of the sessions, and a friend of mine is a cinematographer, and he sent me a message and he sent me a text. It was like, dude, Wally fucking Pfister was in. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And he was like, he's Christopher Nolan's director of photography. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, dude, he did fucking, what's the fucking Inception and all that shit. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. So I sent him a message, and I was like, dude, thank you so much for showing up. What a privilege, and I'm such a huge fan of your fucking vision, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, thanks so much, Mutual Appreciation Society, blah, blah, blah.
The best looking movies are Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And Wally is a fucking G. Like, you don't get to be Christopher Nolan's director of photography if you're not really good at the job. It's not a charity. So I had, but at the same time, one of the things that got me through quarantine was listening to Smartless, which is Will Arnett and Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes' podcast.
Yeah.
So
which blew up over quarantine.
Blew up because they started it during quarantine because they were all sitting in their houses like, what the fuck are we going to do?
Is that how it started?
Yeah. They literally
now they got a bus and they're traveling the country. And
they had they didn't know what the fuck they were going to do because they couldn't work. So they literally were like, all right, we'll just sit in our houses. We'll do a fucking Zoom call. And then, one of us will book one of our friends because their Rolodex is mad deep. Sure. The other two won't know who it is. And it'll be a surprise like, oh my God, it's George Clooney. So, it was fucking... And I would listen to this thing every episode. It was like fucking hanging out with three of your friends. So I was listening to it one day, and they were talking about how there are names now that people don't call their kids anymore. And Will Arnett was like, yeah, like our friend Wally. And then Jason Bateman was like, oh yeah, Wally Fisher's like, I never meet anybody's kid named Wally anymore. So I texted Walter immediately, and I was like, you just got a shout out on my favorite fucking podcast. And he was like, oh yeah, I've known those guys forever, and I shot a few shows of Will did a show called Flaked.
Yeah, the Venice one,
which was so fucking good, and
great show.
So good, and it didn't get renewed. It just fucking won and done. So I was like, oh man, I love that fucking show.
Me too.
So this is where you have to kind of create your own luck. So I was like, listen, I know that Will's a huge music fan. And if you ever want to fucking send him something and let him know what I'm doing, I'm pretty sure he would be into it. And he was like, oh, dude, I can't believe I haven't already. And then you let it go. And you just float the idea. And if it never happens, it never happens. And if it does, it does. So like 3 weeks later, I get a fucking screen grab. And this is why Will has endeared himself to me. It was a screen grab of the KLOS session of Hollywood Nights. And then Will being like, what the fuck? This is fucking amazing. I've been binging these things. So then he showed up in the chat room.
Bob Seger?
Yeah, and when he showed up in the chat room, I was like, yo, man, I'm eventually going to get a podcast. And when I get a podcast, I want you to be one of the guests. And then he texted me and messaged me on Instagram, was like, we need to talk. So they got a fucking massive deal with Amazon.
To build a podcast network.
To build the network. Like $80 million, dude. It's enormous. So...
And you get all that.
That's all mine.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to leave them 5 and validate their parking, but the 75 is mine. So they have this deal. So they're signing, they're building this network, and they're, doing a bunch of shows. And one of the shows that they want to do is mine. So I have a budget to spend on the music, which is the hardest fucking thing to get.
Does that mean you can clear it?
Yeah, so that's the thing is like the publishing can actually be paid for, and it's substantial. It's not like, because I'm using the whole song in a number of times and blah, 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 blah. So now I have Warner Chappell, which is, there are three big publishing companies: it's Sony, Warner Chappell, and UMG.
Universal, yeah.
So I have Sony and Warner Chappell are both totally in. I already have a list of, and there's a thing called MFN, which is Most Favored Nations, which is what you do. You try to set it up that everybody agrees to the same cost.
Absolutely.
So this is how much it costs for you. Costs for the same thing. So nobody can come in and be like, well, I'm going to want 15K, because then then you get into a fucking big dick competition.
Absolutely.
And the next person's like, well, if you're getting 15K, we want 25K. And then before you know where you are, the show is impossible. So we got everyone from those two companies to sign off on a cost, which is substantial, especially in the podcast world where there's no money in podcasting,
right,
especially for music. So we've got a substantial budget. The per episode budget is amazing, and we've batted the contracts back and forth, and now we're actually having a phone call this week with Warner Chappell. They sent me a list of bands that they're like, we own both sides of this, because for those of you that don't know, songs are not 100%, songs are 200%, and there's 100% on either side.
Yeah, it never made
It's
sense
100% of the ownership of the actual writing of the song, and then there's 100% of the ownership of the actual recording of the song. So you have to get both of these sides to agree to this is why music is so fucking stupid and so annoying, is you have to get both of those sides to agree.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. So in order to get the 200%, it's also, by the way, like, this money has to be the same as this money. So $2,500 on either side, or $10,000.
Just like Favored Nations.
Just like Favored Nations, you have to get these two to agree to a cost, because they're two different companies.
Yeah.
So Warner Chappell has a bunch of bands that they own both sides of. So there's no conversation. They can just go to the band and be like, we want to do this. And the band's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So I got a list of those bands, and there was like 100 of them. And it was fucking, Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, great.
And the fucking, Van Halen and
Not
the
Moxie
Doors.
Fruvis.
And it wasn't like these little bands. It was like legit. A
Right.
nice Moxie Fruvis.
Canadian.
Of course. So it was substantial bands, which is fucking amazing. So originally we were going to try to pre-clear 45 episodes, which is how many episodes we want to do. But instead we're going to do it in two bite-sized chunks of like 20 and 20.
Okay.
So the first list we now have. So now I need to get the list of songs, and then we have to coordinate the list of bands. And then once Warner Chappell agrees and Sony agrees to the whole thing, then I can actually sign my contract with them, and then the podcast goes in. So we're hoping that before the end of the year, we'll actually have everything buttoned up.
This seems just complicated enough to keep you stimulated.
It's so fucking stressful, because it's like the music industry sucks, and it's like I'm just waiting for I'm like an abused dog. I'm just waiting to get the phone call that's like, so it all went away. So sorry, and you're like, motherfucker, like really again with this?
You talked about the opportunities before, but the one thing the Big Pumpkin takes care of is timing. And
Timing is everything.
I feel like this is the right time. You put in X amount of years or decades of doing this radio work and this dissection work, all this stuff. You form the brain that is now CJH that we know and love. But the timing feels right now in all of these ways. So whatever is going to happen for you, like at some point, you're going to just have to stop worrying about it.
From your lips to the great pumpkin's ears. I do kind of feel that if it has ears, I do feel that like one of the things that's happening with this contraction of everything, with me being pulled off the air and these shows, me having to pivot to make the shows work better for me, and me not being able to, like the Twitch thing has got so bad that like I've actually sat down to try to do it, and I have a panic attack. Like I have a panic attack before I power everything up, and I'm like, this is not healthy.
Do you have to get in your swimming pool and put your
yeah,
little thing on like everybody else? I think that's mandatory on
I'm
Twitch.
sitting like Brian Wilson, and I just sit in a fucking in a sand pit and like just mellow out. But I do. I have
Brian
like
Wilson. Nice Paul.
But I've been having anxiety. And I was like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I shouldn't be sitting down to do this show and experiencing anxiety.
It seems like you're being redirected. The great pumpkin. I said the big pumpkin. The great pumpkin is redirecting you.
And that's what it feels like.
In life.
It feels like everything's being sort of like pulled out so that I can actually look at what I really want to do and the way I want to do it. And to a certain degree, I think there is, like... And it's interesting, right? Like having interviewed bands and musicians, and utilizing these stems, like you get stories out of them that you don't get out of them when you're doing just like a regular fucking radio interview or whatever. And when you talk to people about their own careers and their own relationship to the music that they've made, there is generally a period where they feel like they have to reclaim it, because it gets so it over the course of your career, it moves further and further to the tips of your fingers, and then it leaves.
Well, it becomes something else,
and it's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm in this moment now where I want to pull it all back, and not to be selfish or anything, but just to pull it all back so that we can kind of start from the same place. Start from a new place that's the same place again. And that's what this experience feels like currently. This contraction feels like it's a necessary thing. And I'm actually really excited to go and do a show at Kai's place and do a show at somebody else's living room, because that's how I started. I did like birthday parties for fucking fans, to like 20 of their friends, and it was fucking just like nervous disaster of like, holy fuck, like 30 people I've never met, and I'm in a fucking backyard in the valley doing my show.
We're sharing a bathroom on this gig.
Yeah, this is weird, and it feels strange, but it also was really exhilarating, and it was really nice to just be able to do it without it having any pressure on it other than simply the fucking doing the thing and making the people listen and making the people laugh and getting them to. So I'm really excited to get back to that, where I can actually have this thing feel like, it's like the Rolling Stones playing a small venue. It's the same thing. So that's kind of what I'm looking for now, is to do that. So I want to come and do the thing for you folks for your next joint. I'm going out to Nashville. It looks like I'm going to Nashville, and I'm going to do Chris Porter and Z Myers. I think it's going to be October 20, whatever that Wednesday is before the Halloween weekend. So I'm going to do Wednesday. They're doing a Z Myers from Shinedown and Chris Porter, the comedian, are doing a comedy and music night, and I invited myself onto it. Where I was like,
I
hey,
love that.
Why don't I open up? I'll do
Comedy
like a 20-minute.
I
was like, I'll do a 20-minute set, and they were like, fuck yeah! So I'm going to go do that, and then seeing as I'm going to be in Nashville, I just spoke to Mike Elizondo, and we're going to try to do Up in the Club from 50 Cent at his studio with like 20 people, and then I'm talking to Nick Raskalaskowatskowitz, who I can't pronounce his last name, but he's done a bunch of records, including the Foo Fighters. So I'm going to do a Foo Fighters song, hopefully with him at his studio, and then I'm going to find a third one and just do like these little 25, 30 people shows in Nashville at people's recording studios, and just fucking get some chairs and a TV set and just fucking hang out and just do it, and have it not be, have it not feel like so much pressure.
Yeah, you're over the pressure.
I'm
I don't
over
blame
it,
you.
man. I'm over it. It's really, and it, as I say, like, it's not a job. I totally get it, and I'm so fucking lucky and so blessed. But at the same point, it's still a fucking work, man.
I
still
find
work.
You never wanted to be a rock star.
No, I fucking hated it.
Right. So, and I
did it. It was awful.
And I never wanted to be a stand-up comedian or any of the things that people sort of look at us and think we are. Like, oh, yeah, you do music. Oh, well, you're a rock star. Oh, well, you do this thing. You're some sort of comedian. No, we just kind of don't fit in the boxes that other people make for us, which perhaps falls into the spectrum. I don't know. I just think you're endlessly interesting. I definitely consider you an artist, because anybody who's a little weird and makes something is.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm definitely weird and made something.
I consider both of those things compliments. A lot of people would never acknowledge their weirdness, or they're just straight up.
No, I'm definitely not normal.
They're not weird, and then they haven't ever made anything.
Yeah, I was the lead singer of a band that was like, every fucking record label wanted to sign us, and we went through that. We got mulched through that machine. And one of the moments when I realized I didn't want, because I'd always been a drummer, and then I came forward and I was the singer just through attrition. And I remember standing on stage singing, and there was like 250 people. And I could see in their eyes that, what they thought that I wanted was adoration, and what I wanted was understanding.
Yeah.
And I was like, this transaction is flawed forever. Like, we're never going to actually give each other, we'll never be able to give each other what we really want. And therefore, that's how you end up, drinking yourself into a fucking coma, or because the thing that you're trying to get, which is understanding, is you're never going to get.
Right.
And
so you feel misunderstood the whole time.
You feel misunderstood. And I feel, honestly, like my show, I think people understand me from the session thing more than they possibly might think that they do, just because it feels really honest. You know, like I'm not afraid to be like, well, this is fucked.
Oh yeah, that happens. That happens.
You know,
that happens.
like-
you know, the screen went out during the thing or whatever,
Yeah.
and you handled it.
Oh, that dude. Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in again? That was pretty good.
Boom,
I
right
did
back
myself
on.
that. That was,
It's a ones and zeros world. That's
that
the
was
first
good.
thing we check these days.
Yep, every time.
But everyone knew what you meant.
Yeah, we were all with you.
Right.
For sure.
So those moments when, you know, you can be, when you're allowed to be yourself and do the thing that you want to do, that's where the magic happens, because I don't want there to be any pretense in my life at all.
But that's where the art and the show are different. That's why your show needs to be you doing art and not you doing a show. And somehow
Thank
the
you.
perception got changed into, Christian Ham's doing another show.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's why I try to tell people, I'm like, I don't like calling it a show. Like,
Yeah.
and there was this period over the quarantine where people were starting to call me the professor, and I was like, shut
don't
that
want
shit
that. I don't want
down.
it.
I'm your brother's older stoner friend who's going to play you Zeppelin 4 for the first time.
Yep.
Like, that's the relationship that I want to have. Like, this is not a show, this is a hang. Like, I do this thing on AMP, and I'm like, I don't want to call it a show. I want to call it a hang, because
Moby Dick is on that one?
Moby Dick.
Moby Dick,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's one of the things of being fucking
Again, the drummer.
Aspergian is that we already feel completely separate and different from everyone around you. So that's why I got rid of my fucking English accent. The last fucking thing I needed was for people to point at me and be like, you don't sound like us.
I know.
And we're going to make fun of that and be like, come on, say talk again. I was like, well, fuck this bullshit. I'm going to get rid of my accent so that the last fucking thing that they'll ever know is that I'm English. So I won't have to deal with now feeling different again and then different again.
I think one of the reasons I like you so much is I really relate to you so much, and I think that perhaps may be one of the things your audience does as well. Maybe they don't necessarily know what to even make of you, but I have a feeling they probably relate.
I would like to think that there's that by being honest about all of it, the difficulties, and, you know, it's like, have you seen Jim Carrey lately? I don't know
Painting.
what
He's in the
level.
studio
I don't know
painting.
what level of fucking what that dude has accomplished, but it is extraordinary.
Yeah. He's
To
an enlightened soul
experience,
these
dude,
days.
it's beyond, right? Like, I mean, he's just. By the way, did you see like his Cars and Coffee?
Yeah. Rolling around on the chairs in the very last segment.
The best part is when he gets into the car at the beginning and immediately explains to Jerry that he's coming in off of a fucking 50-day cleanse or whatever it is, so he's not going to be eating anything.
Yeah.
And Jerry realizes that the entire premise of the show has been shot to shit. And then
And
they're
so-
sitting at the diner, and the fucking waitress puts the thing down and puts the plate down in front of Jerry, and Jim Carrey just goes, "Go ahead, kill yourself."
Yeah.
And it's like complete fucking aside that if you're not listening, you barely hear it. And I was like, this fucking guy, but like that's the level of like his integrity and his honesty about where he's at makes his decision to not do anything. You don't look at him and be like, I want you to do fucking movies, bro. Like I miss The Mask and all that. He's like, I'm fucking
Yeah.
I'm vibrating up
Perfect.
here and I'm explaining to you how that happened, and then you just look at him and you're like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What an incredible place to find
I
yourself
love
as an artist and as a human being.
He says he wants everyone to achieve their goals and find out that that's not what life's about. He wants
Which-
everyone to be just as rich and successful as
Yeah.
he is, so that you can find out that ain't the answer, folks.
It's really it's a beautiful thing to watch, especially when it's somebody who was obviously so driven to constantly have that attention and so driven to constantly be fucking, like it's impossible to ignore that guy. Everything is so enormous, and now he's like the opposite of it.
Yeah.
He's just like,
Well, he's condensed, but he's big. He's got he's like a cell phone speaker. He's not doing as much, but somehow the reach is
Right.
going out even further because the frequency is right.
well, it's like his gravitational pull is so much greater because it's denser. It's
Great
not
Scott.
It's not.
This is heavy.
It's not out there. It's like wong and pulled in. So I kind of look at that, and that was, I'm like, I think that the way that you navigate this difficulty, especially when you become any sort of public figure, is that you have to explain the complications of doing that, because then the people who are participating in it with you are you're filling them in on it in a way that doesn't feel like it's a press release about where I'm at with my career. It's like I'm a person doing a thing, and it's complicated and it's difficult and it's taxing and it's rewarding in ways that you didn't think it was going to be. But at the end of the day, you're still just a fucking person.
My favorite Jim Carrey pop-ups are when he'll go do a red carpet. But he's Jim Carrey now, but he's showing up.
Oh, yeah, no, it's amazing.
So they're like, so Jim, blah, 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 blah. And he'll say something totally enlightened. And she'll be
it's
like, but what about the blah, blah, blah? And he'll be like, none of this matters. You don't matter. You're not here. He's not here.
Right.
None of us are here. This is all
No, he like deconstructs
holographic
the entire thing
yeah.
in
And
real
like,
time. It's beautiful. Yeah, meanwhile, the chick from like,
she's
fucking...
like, can you say alrighty then?
Yeah. Just give us one. Could you please just get one soundbite that we can pull that isn't you being enlightened beyond comprehension with your beard?
I think he looks great.
Oh, his beard looks amazing.
I mean, this is the Jim Carrey that I'm happy with.
Oh,
this
it's
is
fantastic.
the one I feel like I could talk to.
I want to hang out with him
all day long. I want.
Yeah, I'm like, there's like 3 or 4
studio.
people I want to have coffee with, and he's one of them.
Dude, let's figure out a way to make that happen. Let's go visit him at his studio.
I'm
and
sure we
just
could
rock his world.
Just mention something to Jerry. Next time we're at the we don't now. They're valet parking the fucking cars and coffee
I
thing.
wouldn't know anything about it. We don't participate.
Ridiculous.
Over it. Over the whole thing.
Over it. Malibu. Way to fuck it all up.
So there's a lot of things happening with you, but I can't really tell anybody what it is to follow, other than you got a podcast coming up, and soon, that's good. You may or may not be back on the air at KLOS. Who knows?
Nope. May or may not be back on Twitch.
May or may not be back on Twitch. Who knows?
I'm like the worst promoting guest ever.
I love it. No, this is good.
It's the anti-promotion.
If they were to, now your Instagram shows up and disappears sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. Being fucking shadow banned is so rad.
But you still got tons of followers on there.
But I lose like 1,000 a month right now. I'm averaging.
Really?
Yeah. I'm losing 1,000 a month, which is great.
Know whenever I go to search for you, it's like I got to go to the 10th page to find it, even though
you have to enter my full name in.
Social
and then
Security.
It'll show up.
Yep.
It's Christian James saying, because I got shadow banned, and everyone's like, dude, why'd you get shadow banned? I'm like, fucking copyright fucking infringement. What do you think, for fuck's sakes?
Yeah.
And
the algorithm was like, nope.
And it's never going to get fixed. So I think what I'm going to have to actually do is like kill that page and start from zero and build it back up again, because you can't get it fucking turned off. Like I'm done. Like that page is wasted. I'm going to lose all fucking 50,000 plus because you can't.
It's such a shame.
You can't fix it.
It's such a hassle.
But it's also awesome. I'm also kind of stoked about it because it's like you don't want to do that, but I'm like, no, you do kind of want to do that.
I guess.
Yeah.
This whole thing sounds like a rebirth on a way, like
right,
not
doesn't it?
doing club dates, like getting back to your roots, like.
Oh yeah.
Feels
burying my Instagram.
I agree with all of it.
Yeah, my manager's like, dude, if you delete it, you're gonna lose everything. I'm like, well, what am I losing?
You're tilling the earth.
A digital fucking,
It sounds terrifying on the outside, but it's the genuine old school converse and art, like converse and art.
Yeah,
like
where those two meet.
Yeah, and so
it's a hideous
everyone's
intersection.
having
Sounds
that.
like it's going to be great. It's awful. I hate it.
The worst.
That's the crux everyone's fighting right now.
Right.
So.
And the content creation, like the constant.
October's the next date. Do I need to start artwork for it? Says Cinema.
Oh, Cinema Asian X. There won't be any artwork.
Okay. TL says Batman.
That's the best part. I'm Batman.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just going to try to do these in the background too. 6 years on the grind.
6 years on the grind.
And what watches CJH wearing?
Oh, this is my Panerai 50th birthday present to myself.
Oh,
which
good for you.
yeah, I was like, if you're gonna do it, but I got it through the Crown and Caliber people through
beautiful.
Matt Farah. So
it's nice to have a hookup in Matt Farah.
that's the way to do it. If you don't think you have to pay full freight, as we
Rock on
say.
CJH from Begundo 72, and I can definitely relate in many ways, says Amanda Gallup.
You're welcome, Amanda Gallup. Did you guys get a new car?
No.
Did you get a new Porsche?
No, same yellow one.
All right, I thought something had changed.
We had a press car Aston Martin a couple weeks ago.
Right. I knew that was the press, but I thought that the yellow one was a different version of the yellow one.
No, I can't see that happening.
You're just gonna. How many miles do you have on that thing at this point?
It'll be 100,000 in the next week or so.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy? It was had like 30 when we bought it, but we've had it for 6 years and we drive it all the time.
Yeah, I know you guys drive it all the time. I know that's my my thing is like I think I didn't ever want to be a Porsche owner because you people are assholes.
Nope.
And then unfortunately I drove one.
That's all it has.
And
That's all it
then
takes.
you're fucked.
I didn't want one either.
You're fucked. I'm like I have to get like before we're not allowed to have gas powered cars anymore. I just want to own one non-turbo.
I am bringing producer Mike in here so that you guys can all talk because I have to pee and we got 15 more minutes to do. So it is what it is.
Well,
you have done the time, by the way, so you can go anytime you want. We're just going to do the top of the show at the end now. We get right to the nice guest here, but producer Mike I know wants to talk about the live Marconi show, and we got an East Coast.
Yeah, when do they?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You guys chat.
Do we know when they're doing the next one?
No, not yet.
All right.
But they
But
want us.
they invited us back. Like, it was really fun.
And what is that place?
It's a museum for cars and stuff, but
All right.
they're screening shit like the Batman museum.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Batmobile
Yeah.
and Kit and the Dukes of Hazzard car.
They're all there?
Yeah,
That's fucking badass. And where is it?
down in Orange County ish.
It's below here.
I have no understanding of geography. It's horrible, but it's near Orange County.
Okay. All right. Well, I was when I saw the thing, I was like, man, that'd be kind of like a cool excuse to get out and do like a little half-hour one as a warm-up for you.
Oh, you should come.
It would be great.
I'd love for you to do the
Yeah,
next one. It
I'm into
was
that.
such a fun night. It was like set up like Golden Globe style.
Yeah, I
Like,
saw that.
It's a dinner and a
Yep.
silent auction and then a show. Like,
Perfect.
It gave everyone a reason to do something.
Yeah. Well, and then like we're still, it's so obvious that we're still like recovering from the past fucking 2 years, or
We are, but it's a good excuse.
gives people an
kinda
excuse
like
to get
your
out.
Thing of like, we can all re-socialize.
Right.
We all need it.
Yep.
And like, listen to people. Don't just say things to say things. Like, you get to learn about people all over again.
Yeah, no, it's true. The part of the whole thing was like teaching, sort of not teaching, but getting people back used to the idea of like going out and being in an audience. Like I still have friends of mine who are like, dude, I can't come to your show yet, and I'm like, I get it. Like it's completely okay.
Do you have to retrain them all? Like once they're out?
It certainly was.
People have only been with their family for 2
Yeah,
years.
people were, like, and there was, the Queen show. I had to move it twice, and there were still people wearing masks at that show, and I was like, and you're sitting, you're in a mask sitting next to somebody who isn't wearing a mask, and that freaks you out. So it was. There's been, this re-education of everybody of like what it's like to be in a room again with people, and this level of, there's like a level of trust about it that is, we've never experienced anything like this before.
It all seemed pretty good at the show we went to the other night. I guess it's been enough time that.
Yeah. Plus, it's Orange County.
No, I mean, no. Oh,
my-
no, they didn't give a
you
shit about that. No, you're right. That was not.
Dude, didn't give a fuck.
You were right about that.
Yeah, when I did the fucking Sega Strum one, there was just like, they originally.
They said we'll do anything that makes you comfortable, but we don't have any requirements.
Yeah, they had no, they were like, there's no mask requirements. And I was like, listen, whatever the audience, I'm just going to give them the choice. I don't think that there's any reason to mandate either way.
When it comes to this, I don't think the mask matters. When it comes to laughing, oh jeez,
It was
so it
tough.
makes a
Like
difference.
when I did the Queen one, there was probably half and half, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not being able to see their faces with the laughter. Like it's not even like the hearing it. Like muffled laughter is weird, but it was like watching people laugh, but not be able to see the face laugh.
That's
bit
what
was
I
just
mean.
Like, it's very weird.
It doesn't translate.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Um,
And at some point, I want us to change places, and I want to talk to you about all the shit that you did back in the day.
You mean you want to interview me?
Yeah.
Anytime you want to do
Yeah,
it.
but
When you
here,
wanna
I want to
it?
do it in your I'm going to sit in your chair, and you're going to sit here.
Do you want to do it on this show? Or
Yeah, whatever you want to do, but I'm fascinated by the path.
Oh, let's do
Yeah,
it.
it's really
I'm a
cool.
weirdo.
Yeah, no.
Every time you move that mic, we can hear it, just so you know, up there in Canada.
We're in Canada.
He's in Kelowna, right?
What the fuck
Yes,
is
sir.
that?
Kelowna, British Columbia.
Oh, BC.
BC.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And he's also
Great
the host
place.
of the Letterman podcast. Like the actual.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah.
There you go. Dave.
I'll tell you
Incredible.
what, that was the coolest point, and it didn't occur to me ahead of time, but when we got there, or when I got there after this shit had arrived and everything, seeing the desk and chair set up the Letterman way on a stage again
Yeah.
for the first time since it was on the stage at the Letterman show, that was weirdly cool for everybody.
Yeah,
Not
no.
even just me. It was the whole room. Once they walked it and they saw it, and they were like,
Right.
wait a second.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was like a light on it, and it was like an aura, like singing. It was really neat.
Yeah, it's
It
like
was weird. The, ah, you know,
Right.
the angels kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like where it's meant to be. Like it was created.
Yeah, on stage and not in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
little dining room. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a great, it's retirement that it got, but getting to be back out in the spotlight.
They want to do it quarterly. which
Oh,
would
nice.
be killer.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, that would be awesome. And then, that
how
place-
long was the night in total that you guys just did?
the whole thing?
Yeah.
Well, I would say too long. It was like from 6 to 9:30. I think because there was like the silent auction. You walk around the museum and everything for an hour. Then dinner's at 7 to 8, and then we wanted the dinner cleared before the show, so there's no
of course.
clanking and all that. But I think 6:30 to 8 with like dinner at 7:15, something like that in the future would probably
That
be
makes
pretty
sense.
good. And then
Yeah.
showtime at 8. And
Yeah.
then honestly, I was really surprised and impressed with ourselves and all of the team that made the show, because it was our first one that we'd ever done outside of here.
Sure.
And the timing came down perfect. We went 8:07 to 9:37 on the dot for a 9:30 show, which was crazy. I mean, for a 90-minute show. And everybody was good. Everybody pulled their weight.
Yep.
The audience was decent. I mean, they paid money to be there, and they were laughing. So that's kind of,
Well, I mean, the testament to it is they wouldn't be asking you to come back if it was been a failure.
Well, but you know how, the first one, you just want to get it done. You
Sure.
don't care if it's good or not.
Right.
And it's almost like you just want it to be over. Like, you don't even care about the experience of doing a show. I've done a show before. I don't even care about that. Let's just get it over. And I don't know. It was all a blur. The whole thing was a blur.
Always is.
And
And
then
then it's over like that.
Yeah, it was. You're exactly
So
right.
fast.
The first card, I got so many cards to get through to. This is the last card. Holy
Right.
crap, yeah.
Right. So who'd you have out there? Adam was out there?
He closed. Yeah, we had
Nice.
a bunch of comedians, and then we had booked other people that weren't able to do it because of life things that came up. Like Reggie was going to do it, but then his mom got ill, so he flew to Montana instead. But let's see, we had Guido Cocomello, who we never knew, but the museum knew. He's new to comedy, but very funny. Jan Karam from Seinfeld. She was the Menage a Trois episode of Seinfeld. She was Jerry's girlfriend. She's been in everything. Let's see, who else? Rich Chasler and Sarah Halstead.
Sarah, yeah.
And Sean Bishop came, who sort of filled in for Greg Grunberg, whose wife was ill. He's the one I made the time machine with in the Ghostbusters car.
Right.
And we made the announcement at the museum that he and I are going to convert their DeLorean into a time machine.
Oh, you really?
Yeah,
Nice.
for them. So that'll be the next job.
That's awesome.
Woo! Getting back into that bullshit again. And then Adam.
Are you going to make an exact replica of the other one? Or
Yeah.
as close as you can get?
Well, we did the other one. It'll be
Right,
exactly
so
like
you'll
the
be
other
able to
one.
do all of the necessary bits.
It'll be exactly the same.
Do you have all the drawings and shit from the originals? Or is it all...
I've done enough
You're
of
so
them.
cute.
Yeah.
These are
I
all-
sure
this-
do, buddy. They're all here.
This is all things I want to talk about when I interview.
It was, obsessed for years and years and years. I had books and books and books of photos and sleeves and
Wow.
all of the crazy deep dive minutia
Right.
stuff of every different part and angle. And now it's all up here.
What was the... do you remember what the make of blender was?
Yeah, it wasn't a blender. It was a Krups coffee grinder.
Oh, was it really? It was a coffee
Here's
coffee
Here's
grinder?
one of the cars we built sitting up at Universal. So a lot of people were probably looking at that car thinking, oh, yeah, it's the actual back. No,
Right.
that was the one that we made. Let's see. Here's the Scream Awards. That was with Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. That's the
Sick.
same car, by the way.
That's the one from the prior photo?
Yep. But just
Where's the original?
the last one that's remaining is sitting in the Peterson.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man, I want to talk about all that shit. That shit fascinates me.
Anyway,
We'll trade places, and you can sit in this seat.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It was great, and we are grateful to the Marconi and all of the sponsors and all of the people who came out. That was the other thing. We were worried about filling the room,
Sure.
and they ended up having to add 4 tables,
Dude.
which was killer.
Yeah.
Which was
That's
really,
rad.
really good, because we were like,
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the worst part of the thing. It's like the...
are people outside? Are
Yeah,
they
yeah.
showing
no,
up?
it's
You
like,
know?
It's like throwing a birthday party.
I pull some
and you're
chairs
like,
away?
Yeah. Yeah. Less chairs. Make it look bigger. I have to do that all the time.
Pull everything closer. Come on.
Yeah.
Condense
Yeah.
it.
I'm like, fuck me.
So nervous.
Yeah.
I'm still nervous.
Yeah, it's like throwing a
over,
party.
I'm still nervous.
Yeah, and you're always, the fear that nobody's going to show up. I'm telling you, the expectation and the obligation is the death of the creativity.
Well, but once you get one under your belt, though, then you go like, all right, well, we saw, what worked, what didn't work.
Right, finesse it for
So
the next time.
one, it's like, all right, well, now we know we can do it.
Yep.
So now let's try to make it good.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm already cranking.
Yeah, no, as I say, if it didn't work, they wouldn't have invited you back. So,
It was great to be in front of an audience instead of a
right.
bunch of iPhones that I don't know if it gets out or not. Like you were
Yep.
saying, you throw it out into the ether. Well, when you're sitting there in a room and they're laughing back, you know it's coming back. It's nice
Yep.
to get it bounced back.
Now, I saw Jay Moore did a stand-up
He's funny.
This was years ago, and he went off, finished, and he went off stage, and then he came back on, and everyone thought he was going to do an encore, and he was like, I'm not doing an encore. I'm not here for encores. He's like, I just wanted to say that you sitting in the seats have no idea what it's like to be on stage and have thousands of people project their happiness at you.
Oh, yeah.
And to feel that.
To
It's
receive
like, so thank you for this that I get to have, that is something that is, you have no fucking clue what that feels like.
He had done his show.
Walked off
They
stage.
did the whole thing, and he came back on.
Came back, and they thought he was going to do an encore just to
to-
thank them for that. And I was like, wow, that's a fucking, because I hadn't seen anyone do that prior.
Good move.
And it is an entirely unique experience to, like, that's one of the things about, the sessions, especially when you get heavy, like a Prince one or Chris Cornell, where people have passed away and you can hear people in the audience crying,
Emotional.
But so to, that's what I said earlier about like trying to get an emotional place to happen so that the hilarity or the laughter has the two ends of the spectrum are satisfied. And it was like that sort of thing where him saying that actually also, you felt that, and then the laughter became even more important because you were like, oh shit, like I didn't realize that I was giving that experience to that dude.
Right.
Who you just think is like up there fucking barking off and doing the thing. It's like, no, man, what he's getting out of this is like fulfilling and addicting in a way that is very, very difficult to experience anywhere else.
So maybe that was perhaps part of it, connecting with people.
Yeah.
Like I got a little emotional when they first called me up because it was like, oh, I'm now talking to all these people
Yeah.
on a stage with my wife in our little show that we do in our little dining room. Like, but it's real now.
Right.
I had that moment wash over me of like, holy shit, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to eat it, and instead I just shared it with them. I just told them,
Yeah.
here's the thing. This is our first one. This is crazy. I'm so grateful you're here.
Right.
I'm emotional. It's washing over me. You're seeing it.
Yeah.
We're going to get this thing back on the tracks. It's going to be fine.
And that's I think that is part of the, what has shifted in all of these endeavors is that, inauthenticity is being called out at a place that is really,
You're getting a nod from the producer up there. If I just said, oh, something in my throat there or whatever,
Right.
and just kind of covered it, would be the way to keep the show going, but not showing myself. To me, what's the point?
yeah, and the vulnerability of it is the thing that everyone, is we're not used to that. So if you do that, it automatically creates. It's why I don't like to say that I have fans, because that to me is just a gross word. Like I don't know. I was trying to think of another word, and I was like, followers is a terrible word. Like supporters is about as good a clean word as you can get.
I'm grateful
Enthusiasts.
for the interface because we say
Enthusiasts
viewers here.
Yeah, because it like when you set up this hierarchical relationship, it doesn't allow it to be a hang. And that to me is, what it's always been about. Like, I'm uncomfortable being on stage. Like, I've done sessions where I'm in the audience, and it fucking rules. It's just harder to make the show work
Right.
from that place.
For sure.
It's like there was a lot of people.
You mean like you're on the same side looking at the screen?
Yeah.
Kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah, I did that with a couple of shows that I'd done, and
I
I was
like
like,
you
it's
up there
fucking
with the little
rad.
desk.
I know, it's just there's a lot of people looking at me. But,
Yeah,
it was like one
Will
of the
you
things
ever
that.
get over that? Because you're
No.
so good. That's the part I'm saying.
I'm
You're so good at
53
it. If
years
you could
old,
get-
man. I'm done.
If you could get over that little hump within yourself, don't say that because that's all neuroplasty. The problem is up here. It's not
Yeah, it's just a discomfort with the thing for me is that there was a lot of blowback from people when I went from Instagram, which was my face, to Twitch, which was the session, the actual Pro Tools files with like a little me in the corner, and people being like, make you bigger, and I'm like, no, because that's the point of this thing. Like I went into radio because it was fucking anonymous.
Yes, but
know?
they want us to be the face of this thing. I don't like it either, but everyone tries to
Of
put me in
course.
the Breakfast Club and everything else. Like, okay, do you think I wanted to be the guy who started Breakfast Club?
I
Fuck
mean,
no.
somebody had to do it.
Come on.
I mean, I get it, and that's what I'm talking about. So for me, I'd carved out a role in my life where I was like, all right, dude, I can do radio, which is inherently, especially back in the day when I was a kid, when you didn't even see the photographs of the fucking
Then you can still
people.
go shopping. You can go to the restaurant. Nobody knows who you are. They might recognize your voice.
Yeah, I got recognized by a FedEx guy one time. It was pretty rad. But it was like that whole thing of actually I did when I was on the sound, we did this fucking thing, and I was like, you know how like when you see a DJ after being have a listener for so long, and they never look how you think they do, right? Ever.
No,
Ever.
never.
So I was like, well, what we should do is, it's easier now because of MP3. So what we did was we contacted all of these police sketch artists around the country and sent them MP3s of the show and had them draw what they thought we'd look like.
Genius.
Awesome.
And what we got back was fucking amazing. And my favorite one, which I got framed, which I'll put up at some point, was I am this fat, short guy in sandals who looks
Jimmy
like he's
Buffett.
on like his seventh he's on his seventh marriage, and the radio gig is only to pay the alimony on the previous 6. And then Andy was the other guy, and he was like this tall, skinny dude who looked like he was on like marriage 10, and he would only have the fucking job to pay off the alimony on his previous 9th. And we hated each other, but we were such a team that we'd been on the air for so long that we had no choice. And it was so fucking dope to see what people thought that we looked like from our voices.
Yeah.
That I was like, and it's such an easy bit. And I couldn't believe that nobody had done it before. And we had like 15 of these things, and in every single one, I was the fat, short guy. Devastated. It's really not fun. I was like, damn it, I'm undone by my own bit. Fuck this.
That is absolutely hilarious. All right, real quick, let's do an East Coast feed here because I think it was for my birthday, which also passed while we've been gone. Roll it, Hal.
Happy birthday, Uncle Jay.
East Coast feed.
East Coast Fate.
We just want to wish you happy birthday from the East Coast.
Happy birthday.
And what are we having tonight for dinner?
Macaroni.
Weird. Even though it's not Sunday, but it's okay. We need it in our life, right? Because we're very Italian. Look, there's the macaroni, Uncle Jay.
Oh, yeah.
And the cheese. Grandma's sauce. The best, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anything else? Hope you guys
Just
are
like, why
doing
are we
good.
doing
That's
this?
it. East Coast feed. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, you guys. That's cool.
Gravy. Wasn't even sauce. That's the gravy.
That's it. That's a proper Italian
That's how the Italians
household
do it.
there. All right, we did that. We talked about the Marconi. Producer Mike, how you doing up there? Is everything okay with you, buddy? I know we didn't get to talk
This is a
much.
phenomenal episode. Just so much engagement everywhere. I would ask a question to Christian, but it would just lead to another 20 minutes of discussion. I just want to say you guys are doing the Lord's work. This is awesome. It's a pleasure to be a part of it.
Wow.
That's very nice.
Thanks, buddy. Let's see. We should talk about who's on the Letterman podcast tomorrow. Who do you got coming up? Great episodes
Tomorrow's
lately.
episode that comes out is Casey St. Ong.
No way. You got Casey?
Yeah.
She was one of Letterman's
Yeah,
old
we went almost 2
assistants.
hours.
She was a second or a third assistant, right?
Wow.
And then she became the showrunner for Busy Phillips' show. And when that went away, her and Busy weren't done yet, and so they've got a podcast that they still do together. And so Casey and I had a phenomenal conversation, the first of many. Lots of great stories, lots of fun insights, and then we went deep on women in late night and had a really good discussion on that. Got a bonus episode with Steve Young coming out on Tuesday. We went 2 hours talking about bathtubs over Broadway. And then I just shot with George Schweitzer today, who was the head of CBS marketing for nearly 50 years, including when Letterman came over and when he retired. And he and I went really deep too. So lots of good stuff
That's
coming on the
awesome.
Letterman podcast. I apprate the plug.
Oh, for sure. The Howard Stringer days in the beginning when Howard wooed him away, got the deal done from NBC. That was a crazy time. Was it same day?
We went
new
about a
time,
half
new
hour on
station?
that alone.
Yeah, I bet. That's very cool, man. Awesome. Can't wait to check it out. Let's see. We should do a couple commercials here and pay the bills. They say all which separates men and boys is the coverage for their toys. What types of toys, Mrs. Ryan?
Collectors.
That's right. Licensed in most states, St. Clair Insurance Shop's top provider, so you get the best coverage for your toys. Simply check them out by going to www.coverageforyourtoys.com. Coverageforyourtoys.com.
Coverageforyourtoys.com.
Tell Jeff St. Clair that Nicole says hello because oftentimes with MS,
I cannot.
Also, our friends at Series 1 Films. Series 1 Films is more than
That's
just
very
films.
good.
They can set you up with effective marketing solutions like press releases on major news sites. They can scale your rank on Google, and they can produce cinematic content for your automotive brand or business. Check them out by going to series1films.com, series1films.com.
Series1films.com.
And as Mike up in Canada will tell you, the one is a number one. And if you want to know what the stuff they do looks like, check this out. Yeah, the words are jumbled, but Video Breakfast Club, moving pictures, watch now. I love that little music every single time, and it's something. It's like from '70s porn music. It's called like Deep Throat or something like that. It really
It's
is.
the only thing you could call it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Also in the business section, Tom Dreesen has his one-man show going on at the Belushi Performance Hall in Glen Ellen, Illinois, this Saturday, September 10th. Go to tomdreesen.com for tickets. And also, Hello-Deli. Your only source for the official licensed Late Show with David Letterman merchandise is Hello-Deli. Go see Rupert. St. Clair and Series 1 Films. We did. Christian James Han. God damn it, I love you, brother.
Pleasure, thank you. Likewise. It's a joy.
Did we talk about all the stuff you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I didn't really give a shit what we talked about.
That's the way I like it with you. But
It's perfectly wonderful.
are you satisfied with how it went?
Yeah, sure. I would hope that you were.
I don't give a shit.
That's perfect. Then
The
we're both
Marc-
satiated
We
by
were
the
here
whole
last
thing.
week with the Marconis, and then we did the show with them. And then yesterday he gave me a call and said, "Hey, so listen. Apparently I said something. We had Adam Ferrara, we had Monique Marconi, and John Marconi all on the same show." And it was in that order that I just mentioned. And by the time the third guest, John Marconi, got out, I guess he said some things that he didn't necessarily. I don't think the public would care, but the family cared. It was like,
Yep.
your father shouldn't have said that, or whatever the heck. And so we pulled that one.
I did an entire 2.5 hours with Toby Wright, and then had to hit him up and say, I hate to say this, but I think we have to delete that entire fucking thing and do it all again. And he was like, whatever you need to do, man.
Was it a production problem?
No, it was me. It was a me problem. I was just out of control. I was just so high on my own supply that I was unfucking bearable, and I was like, "This is not the person."
When you heard it back. Can I tell you something? That's happened to this guy up there. That happened with an episode. He listened to two halves. There was like a power outage in the middle or whatever. So the first half was fine, and then he listened to the second half, which was recorded a couple hours later after tons of stress and whatever. And he called me like basically the equivalent of like when you're a teenager lying on your floor, listen, just like, how could this have happened? I'm
Right.
so embarrassed, that kind of thing. And there he is, yeah, because he had like one of the original Letterman writers on, and he was just a little fawny, I guess, and was kind of just a little too much. I thought it was fine. I bet your episode was fine.
Yeah, I went through it and I started like marking times for him to edit, and by the time we'd got through like the first half hour, there was like 26 minutes of editing. It was like 4 minutes, which is basically like the introduction of me was the only thing we could keep. And I called him. I was like, "Dude, I'm so fucking sorry, but I think we have to redo the entire thing."
Was he relieved because he felt the same way?
No, he was like he was like, I think he was actually relieved that instead of making me edit out 9 million edit points, it was like, just fuck it, we'll redo the whole thing.
Fair enough.
And this time I'm gonna have a little dude on my shoulder who's like, watch your mouth there, champy champ. So I get it. It's that's part of the joy of these things, right? Is that you get on it and you just shoot the shit. But sometimes you get a little too shit shooty.
I found that when we did these in the beginning, you would watch them back because you had to get better. And then at some point you hate yourself so much that you're like, I'm never going to watch another one of these. But then enough time goes by where you're not growing, and then you have to then endure the hate of watching yourself for a little bit so that you can then correct the shit that's wrong with it.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do any listening to anything that I've done in forever. And one of the things that I'm not looking forward to is, like, in order for me to shift more money to the music budget on the podcast, I went through the budget and I was like, well, we get rid of the producer because all I need is a guest booker. I don't need a producer, but also let's get rid of the editor because I'm gonna be sitting next to the editor anyway. So I know how to
You might as
edit.
well do it.
So I might as well do it myself. The downside of that is that I've got to listen through fucking hours of this fucking voice with this head, and I
would have
don't
had
want to
to
do
anyway.
it. It's the fucking worst. I would like to actually get to the point where the show is completely unedited. And that would be the goal for me. Like, they were like, how long do you want the episodes to be? And I was like, as long as it takes. Like, I don't understand this.
What are you editing now?
That's
Because
like-
what you did live was
When I used to have to, edit there was other shows that I used to do for the sound when I would have to edit those. And I was like, ugh, this fucking overweight lesbian that I'm having to fucking edit is the worst person on the planet. Right? I mean, I'm just telling truths, man.
all right. I feel like we've wrapped this thing up a couple times. Let's see. We did the commercials. We talked to Christian James Hand.
all good.
Thank you. Follow Christian James Hand on his dead Instagram account.
Yeah. Just enter Christian James Hand entirely into the fucking search window.
All one window, and then scroll all the way down to the
Yeah,
bottom.
you'll
and
find it eventually. Yeah, it's the one that looks like me.
And then tomorrow we're at GVBC. After that, I have no idea because my brain is scrambled. I can't believe all this stuff is back in here. And
Yeah.
I think
Well
the show
done.
went out tonight.
Congrats.
I think we're good.
It appears so. I mean, the reaction would say as much.
Thank you for being awesome, brother. I love you.
Thank you for being awesome. Thanks for coming out.
I think I can't wait to come to the next one. I can't wait. I can't wait to come.
October 22nd, the Saturday night.
Beautiful.
You're on the list. And you come and hang out. It's free anyway, so I don't give a fuck.
I like that room. Let's do this before then. We'll
Yep.
switch seats, and you then
100%.
you tell me whether you want to do it on this show or somebody else's show.
We'll do it on yours.
All right.
Let's learn about you.
Fantastic. Is she here for that or no?
Yeah.
Does
If
she
she,
sit
if
over
she
there
wants
or
to
she
be,
sit here?
she can be wherever she wants. I think she has to sit next to me, champ. Come on.
Okay,
let's
so
go.
you want the full experience.
Yeah.
It feels good being on this side with
Yeah,
her laughing
that's-
for you.
Exactly. I need my McMahon, my Vince McWoman.
It's Ed, not Vince.
Right? Same
Ed
one.
McWoman.
Ed McWoman.
Not Vince McWoman.
Wasn't Vince McMahon the wrestling
The
one?
wrestling guy.
it's
Yeah,
whatever.
that's why
that's
we
what I
got a
want.
huge wrestling buff up there. He used to work in wrestling, believe it or not.
Wow.
Legitimately. What were you, a promoter?
Yeah, we promoted. We had a charity wrestling promotion from 2013 to 2019, and raised over $250,000 for local charities, and worked with a whole bunch of WWE legends, from Mick Foley to Jeff Jarrett to Jimmy Hart to all sorts of people. And
this was up
I
in,
got to go
this was
behind
up
the
in
curtain as a
Canada, right?
result. Yeah, you bet. Right here in Kelowna, and I got to go in behind the curtain. I got indoctrinated into the business and invited into the business as a result. And what a crazy business that is.
Oh yeah, one of my friends was a writer for the WWF.
When I was a kid. Yeah.
And because they were based out of Connecticut. I think
Stanford,
when they,
Connecticut. Research
WWE.
Park.
Every writer of the WWE and WWF is gay as the day is long. It's amazing.
think
That writer's
everybody-
room is all gay.
I think everybody
Beautiful.
who worked there was. They
It's
were
amazing.
either women or gay,
Yeah.
other than Vince.
Yeah, he was in the writer's room and he was like, "This is outrageous. We just get to think
hilarious.
whatever the fuck we want to do." I was like, "That's the greatest part of the whole thing for me."
My dad shot some of that shit. You know, when they would do the promos and all that.
Oh,
shit,
yeah,
they would,
yeah.
Because that wouldn't be done at the arena. They would
Right.
just do that shit in their
Yep,
little
yep.
tiny studio. And it was the same thing. My dad was a commercial photographer.
It's amazing.
Ooh, look at you, Hulk Hogan. All right, that's it. We've done it. Tomorrow, Good Vibes Breakfast Club is where we will be up on the crest. I love you. We love you, Christian
Thank
James
you.
Hand.
Likewise.
We love you up in Canada, producer Mike.
Stay warm.
Stay tuned to the Letterman podcast tomorrow. Check him out. And everybody else, have a great weekend. We love you all. And that's it. Please love one another, right? Thank you very much for watching. Tom Snyder is next. Good night, everybody.
Tom Snyder's.